Hi there, welcome to the latest episode of my 10-minute moans, and in this one I want to discuss some updates on the Branchform investigation into the SNP and party officials. Now, it looks as if eventually there could be some arrests soon. People not just arrested and told to go away again, but actually charges, but potentially a fourth person as well. Could be on a suspect list. Now, just to give those of you who are living in the moon since the spring a wee sort of quick summary of what happened here. Scottish Government had attracted about £600,000 worth of donations from predominantly party members and independence lovers, and that money was promised to be ring-fenced for a future independence referendum, which obviously hasn't taken place yet. And then it became apparent that the SNP didn't have any money. It looked as if they were trading insolvently and they needed a loan from their chief executive, Peter Morrell, who's Nicola Sturgeon's husband. And that's what attracted the concerns of some independent supporters who had actually, I believe, put money into this £600,000 ring-fenced amount, asking basically where's the money, because if you've ran out of dough, where's the £600,000 that you meant to have, because their accounts didn't show it. So that was the basis of the initial complaint. So for about 2 years now, they've been investigating potential fraud, misuse of funds, etc., 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 from within the SNP. And that led to the 5th of April, Peter Morrell, who is the chief executive of the SNP and Nicola Sturgeon's husband, he was first to be arrested. He was taken to a police station, questioned under caution obviously, and later released pending further investigation. Not released, not free to go, pending further investigation. Then on about a fortnight later, on the 18th of April, Colin Beattie, Treasurer, arrested. Same story, went through the same process. And then the big one came on the 11th of June. Nicola Sturgeon, who just miraculously previously stepped down as First Minister, was arrested at her home. And the home was subject to a search warrant, and we all seen the pictures with the tents, etc. And since then, there's, just absolutely nuts stuff. Just like camper van being taken from Peter Morrell's mother's home. Apparently £100,000 one of them. The most recent thing was the £95,000 Jaguar Peter Morrell bought. That's been investigated by the police. The newspapers were quite happy with the information. They had to actually run that as a story, which tells you, they had a fair amount of stuff to back that up, or they wouldn't have done it. I'm trying to think what else we had. Pots, pans, and apparently the First Minister, he's had sight of a search warrant which included 1,000 purchases. Now, there was weird things on it, pots and pans. There was expensive things on it, so obviously cars, motorhomes, and such like. But posh pens apparently. So that was a bit of a weird one. Another bit of information that came out was the fact that the police were looking for burner phones and SIM cards. Now, normally people that have burner phones and SIM cards are quite unscrupulous characters, and it's not something you'd expect police to be looking for an investigation that was revolving around a political party, and indeed politicians, and indeed party leaders, and indeed First Ministers. But that's where it got to. I mean, absolutely ridiculous. But what's happening now is, and then there was the amount of money that came out recently as well. It's £1 million it's cost so far. And obviously the length of time taken, you would imagine that the last thing you do, you don't imagine this is just common sense and logic. The last thing people do is, when the police are investigating someone, is to blow their cover and go and lift them. So the fact that they arrested these 3 people tells you they're not at the start of the investigation. And they would have already had sight of bank accounts, because what you would normally do with a police investigation, particularly when there's money involved, you would get a warrant to get information from bank accounts, look at the personal bank accounts, business bank accounts, all that sort of stuff. And the second step is then to get a warrant to go in and arrest them and search the property, because that as soon as that happens, as soon as the property's searched or the person's arrested, that blows their cover. That's it. The police know that it's not just the body they're looking at, it's these individuals. So these things would all have taken place before April and June when the arrests started happening. And because of that, there's certain people quite confident that arrests will be made pretty damn quick. And the timescales suggested to me are between now and the middle of June. Middle of January. It could be as quick as that. And however, there is another potential. It could be a fourth person arrested. That could be the next thing. So, next thing's coming up is either charges on the original three as individuals or together, or potentially a fourth suspect arrested, no doubt cautioned, and that could happen, or the charges actually processed between now and the middle of January. But don't let that get in the way of a good bit of independence. I'm sure when these things do happen, there'll be all sorts of nonsense with the cybernats and the cult members. It'll be a Masonic, monarchist, unionist cabal somewhere, because these people not done anything wrong, obviously. And the mad thing is, it's actually the downfall of the SNP and the downfall of independence is broadly on the shoulders of the people who desired it most. Isn't it fascinating? It's like I don't know. It's like just a whole prophecy type thing that's going to happen here. That these people that try to force it upon the majority, because the majority voted no, remember that, and force independence and use every trick under the book and try and force a hand and have illegal things happening with referendums, are actually going to cause it to the whole thing to collapse. Because you can imagine, and I'll explain this to you, politics, regardless of what level it's at, I would suggest, John, that generally you're one of three things. You're either a wee far to the right, a wee far to the left, or bang centre in the middle. And that can be in anything. That could be the colour of the rosettes that you vote for, or the type of politics you vote for, left and right, or just directions, not actually suggesting that you're politics. And it could be on referendums. There'll be people who are way over here in referendum, people who are way over there with referendums, with the Scottish Nationalist Independence referendum or Brexit. But what decides where the power goes are the people in the middle. And these are the people, if you use Westminster as an example, there are people who just for one reason or another will only vote blue or only vote red. In Great Britain, I'm generalising here. And it doesn't matter how good or bad the Tories are or how good or bad Labour are, that's just how they vote. But who actually makes the power are these ones in the middle? Because depending on how, like just now, it's a Tory government and they don't seem to be getting a lot of things right. So I think if there was a general election tomorrow, it's a safety bet that Labour would probably win it, because these people in the middle will go towards them. Scottish politics is no different. Voting for independence is no different. Voting for the SNP is no different. And we've been even polarised more than most. And the fact that you've got folk who would always vote SNP regardless, and you've got folk who would never vote SNP regardless, they don't actually matter. It's these ones in the middle that could vote either way, for SNP, or if you were putting a referendum in front of them. And that's what happened in 2014. This big lump in the middle just decided you've not convinced us. And it's that big lump in the middle that will dictate what happens next. And I don't see how these people in the middle, and it's not just because of these criminal activities and investigations that are going on, it's just how they've governed the country. And I genuinely cannot see these ones in the middle voting for them. And if they lose control at Holyrood, which is a wee bit harder to happen because of the way the votes are counted in Scotland, it's not first past the post and one constituency, one winner, and that's it. But if they were to lose control, and they almost did the last election, that's why they're in cahoots with the Greens, remember? They would lose power at Holyrood. And then you've got to think, well, that's it. Independence thing's no happening now, is it? And they were on the right track. And they've blown it. They've absolutely blown it. Incredible. All you had to do was be a safe pair of hands, but no. Corruption. Greed. Love of power. All these things came into play with these people. And they forgot the most important aspect of being in power, and that's actually just govern the country. See if they didn't make a complete arse of that, they might have been in a far better place over the last sort of 4 or 5 years, but they didn't. Since 2014 when they lost the referendum, which they thought was shooty in, let's face it, they've just blown it. Because they just didn't do what they were put in office to do, and that was govern the country. But were they put in office to govern the country? Probably not. They were put in office to gain independence, and that's because they're a one-trick pony, and probably the biggest reason it's come back and backfired them. And then those human traits came in about power and greed and all this stuff, and how they think they start to think they're invincible, and the pack of cards is just about to come tumbling down between now and the middle of January. So there we go, folks. Thanks very much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up. Round about here on the screen there'll be another video that you might like. And if you'd like the channel, hit the subscribe and notifications. So thanks very much for tuning in. Have a wonderful day. Bye now.